Hello, hello. Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome back to another Monday LinkedIn Live interview coffee chat. Today we are chatting with Sean. But before we go into that, a quick reminder for everybody we are streaming this to YouTube as well. So if you want to see the replays, if you want to check some of the past episodes, so that you don't have to scroll through my news feed, you can just go to YouTube, type in Fail Coach or type in Micha Matlievsky. You'll find my channel. While you're there, you can also subscribe to it. We are now at 126 subscribers, so it's slowly growing, but it is. So without me going into too much random rambling, we have an amazing guest here with us today. Sean, welcome to the show. And if you don't mind, could you just quickly introduce yourself and then we'll go from there?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Miha. Appreciate it very much. My name's Sean Crane. I'm a life coach. I live in Santa Barbara, California. Husband, father of 3 children, and just on a mission to share some positive messages today on this episode and in general. So I'm grateful to be here.
Well, perfect. Sweet and short, just the way we like them. Well, the title is already very intriguing, and your story from start to finish is very interesting. So maybe we can just start with the inmate story. What got you there, and how was that whole experience? And I'll just let you take it from here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, my story being incarcerated, I believe it's symbolic of, the struggle that we go through in our lifetime. And that's really, wanting to be this person, wanting to achieve these things, but being held back by our own fears, our own limitations. And that was me growing up. I had big dreams to be a professional athlete, and I had a lot of things I wanted to do and accomplish. But along my journey, I started to doubt myself. I went through a lot of tough times at home, and it affected me. I didn't know how to deal with the emotions that I was experiencing at such a young age. At the age of 14, my father went to prison. My mother left us. And so my first month in high school, my whole world came crumbling down upon me. And I went down a really dark path myself, not really living the life that I wanted, not living up to my potential, so to speak. And it led me to hanging around others who were doing the same, that were just going through the motions and drifting through life. And I didn't understand how valuable and precious life was at that age. I was young and naive. And what happened is I ended up going through high school, getting a job after high school, and I just wasn't happy. I wasn't pursuing anything greater than myself. I didn't have a vision or a purpose that I felt called to serve. And so this ended up leading me to a party one night on an area in Santa Barbara called the Mesa, which is a beautiful location. If you were in that area, you could look out and see the Pacific Ocean. You could see the Channel Islands. I mean, Santa Barbara is a very affluent community. It's a beautiful place to grow up. But at that time in my life, I wasn't able to see that beauty all around me because inside I was still broken, going through the things from the past that I wasn't able to deal with. So fast track through that whole time in my life leading up to this party, and there was a fight that broke out. There was a big fight, and people were being attacked. Now, I was blamed for being involved in the fight, and what happened was I got to this party, and I didn't know anybody, and I saw a couple guys that I knew through a mutual acquaintance. So I just hung out and talked to them the whole night, and they ended up getting in a fight with another group of people, and they used weapons and assaulted these guys. And because I was seen with those individuals earlier in the night, I was seen when the altercation took place. Even though I didn't assault anybody with a weapon, I got blamed for a crime I didn't commit. I got charged with an attempted murder based on eyewitness testimony from a bunch of drunk college kids who told the cops, yeah, we saw Sean in this area wrestling around with these guys. So at the age of 23, Miha, I was arrested for attempted murder and looking at a life sentence in prison.
Oh, wow. At such a young age. Wow. Well, how did that go then? I mean, why did they put you in jail at the end?
Why did they arrest me?
No. But you were looking at a life sentence. So
Yeah.
how did things evolve from there?
Yeah. So initially, I was charged with attempted murder, and I remember the first day in court distinctly. My attorney coming up to me and saying they're thinking of amending your charges to homicide. It doesn't look like the victim in this case is going to make it. He was in a coma, and so they thought that he was going to die, and they were going to change my charges to murder, which would have carried a penalty of life in prison. And at that point, I was so in shock and disbelief. I couldn't even really understand what was happening to me. And so now I'm stuck in this cell for 23 hours a day. It's so small, Mijo, I could touch both walls at the same time. And I had nothing but a couple random books and, a cup. You have nothing. You have nothing. A mattress this thin to sleep on. And so it was torture. I was not only imprisoned in the physical sense, but my mind, I was just imprisoned. I was thinking the worst possible scenario. I was in that cell for 8 months. Finally, going through the facts of the case, I don't think they thought I did the crime, but there was enough evidence pointed at me based on what people said, what the cops had said, that they had to charge me with something. So they gave me the option to take a plea deal, which is a lesser severity of the original charge. And they charged me with assault with a deadly weapon, which carried 7 years in prison. Now, the victim had made a full recovery. He was fine, but they still wanted to send me to prison. And at that point, I felt that if I didn't take that plea deal and take that time in prison, that I had the chance of going to trial and risking 10, 20, or 30 years of my life if I was found guilty. And it just wasn't something that I felt was worth risking if I knew that I could go to prison and come back home and live a better life. And so I made the choice to take that plea deal. And I signed a plea deal for 7 years in prison for a crime I didn't commit.
Whew, wow. A lot to unpack there, but yeah, I guess they were just trying to prove a point or send a message, and they just needed somebody to charge with something after everything that happened, I guess.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, the way the police report was written up and what the witnesses were saying, it looked really bad. It looked like I committed the crime. People were saying things that weren't true. And, I think that some of the district attorneys, the officials, the judges, I think they really thought I was guilty. I know a lot of people knew I was innocent, but again, they had to convict someone like you said.
Yeah, and probably there were no recordings or anything, so it was your word against other words, and then it's very hard to prove things when it's just he said, she said situation.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the age of 23, I'm looking at 7 years in prison, and it's the defining moment of my life, honestly.
Yeah, I can imagine that. So how did the life on the inside look like?
Yeah, so in prison you have nothing. You get used to it, believe it or not. You don't get used to being alone, and you don't get used to missing your family, but you have to find routines and a way to be in the moment the best you can. Otherwise, thinking about all the stuff you're missing beyond the walls, thinking about your future, thinking about how your life got you to that point, it's devastating. And a lot of guys get depressed or just spend their days miserable because of that. So in prison, your amenities are very little. You don't have much contact with other people. It's really its own world inside those walls. So the food wasn't very good. The place smells. It's dirty. You can't do what you want to do. You're told when you can leave your cell. You're told when you can eat. You're told when you can go outside. And it's a lot different than out here. I mean, the things that we take for granted, getting up and just walking outside and looking up at the sky, hugging your loved ones, getting to eat the food that you want. I mean, basically everything that we have out here is restricted or limited to you in there. For me, to be honest, Miha, was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life because it showed me the true value and stuff that I didn't even understand prior. Like I'm talking about every little detail you can imagine. And it just gave me this whole new perspective on life that has helped me to take more out of this journey and to find more gratitude in every waking moment. It doesn't have to be a celebration, a birthday party. Nothing extraordinary has to take place in order for me to feel that gratitude because this is my second chance. And so that was one of the greatest benefits of being incarcerated, honestly.
Sean, do you have an answer how come that the prison time affected you in that way? I mean, I don't know many people who went to prison, but I know that a lot of them, they get bitter, they get angry at the world outside, and often they come out in a much worse situation, with even much worse outlook on life and future and so on. So do you have any idea, like, what was your mindset different than from most people that go to jail? How were you able to see that as a positive, and when you got out, act in completely different, in a positive way?
Yeah, that's a great question. I wasn't ready to quit or give up on myself at that time, Miha. I had spent 23 years just going through the motions in life. And I always thought deep down inside I had more time to change and to do the things I really wanted to do. And then when I was incarcerated and the thought of losing my life surfaced, it devastated me. I was in shock because I thought I had more time and I had more things I wanted to do and experience in life. And so thinking that I was going to spend the rest of my days incarcerated only to find out that I will come home at some point, I felt like I died and got a second chance at life. That's the only way I could describe it. I felt like I was dead and I met my maker and they said, no, we're going to give you more time on earth. Make it count. That's the best way I can describe it. So every day of my incarceration became an opportunity to improve myself, to stay grateful, to stay positive, so that I could come home and do the amazing things that I wanted to do with my life.
And did you end up serving all 7 years, or because of your good behavior, you ended up serving less?
I did 5.5 years. I got time off for good behavior and for getting college degrees. So one of the things that transformed my life while I was behind bars was educating myself. Before prison, I neglected my education. I didn't go to college. I barely tried in high school. And I had this limiting belief that I just wasn't intelligent. And so then when I was stuck inside that cell, all I could do was read, write, and exercise. And very early on, I realized my writing was horrible. My penmanship, I was getting letters back from family members saying they couldn't read my writing. I had a cellmate at the time and I was asking him how to spell every other word. And I was embarrassed. And then one day I asked him probably 50 times how to spell words. And he finally threw a little pocket dictionary and it hit me in the shoulder. And he said, look it up. And I took that as a challenge. I had to get out of my comfort zone and be willing to really take control of my own life, not depend on other people to do it for me. And this taught me a lesson that still serves me to this day. So what I started doing is I looked up every word in that dictionary and I started applying them to my letters. I started looking up words when I was reading that I didn't know the meaning of, and I'd use them in my letters back home, or I'd articulate them on the phone when I got a phone call back home. And I just started changing myself. I started educating myself. And I felt my mind come alive like never before. And I started feeling good about myself. Like, wow, okay, you went out of your comfort zone. You took on this challenge and you're seeing the benefits. You're seeing it in your writing. And then that same cellmate of mine was writing a letter to his girlfriend or a pen pal he had. And he wanted to send her a poem, but he couldn't write a good poem. And he asked me, and I wrote a poem and she loved it. She wrote back and actually asked us if we had copied it from a book. And this was a part of me that I would never show anybody or even really knew about myself. Like, I didn't know I could write poetry. I wouldn't try things like that. I was closed-minded. So I learned so much from that incident because it taught me that, if I apply myself and try something new that I'm scared of, I can do good at it. I can succeed. And that, it allowed me to learn about myself. So fast forward going into prison, I found out they had college programs, a correspondence program. Prior to that, I would have never taken those courses. I would have thought that I'm not intelligent. Oh, what is this going to help me? How is this going to help me in prison? I'm incarcerated. Why am I going to waste my time reading textbooks and writing papers? But what it did is it gave me purpose every day. I poured myself into these courses and I learned so much about biology, mathematics, English composition, history, everything you can imagine, and psychology. And I fell in love with psychology. And what happened is I got 4 college degrees in that time, and I got 6 months off my sentence in addition to the time for good behavior. So now I was getting results from my effort. I was changing. I was feeling myself change. And I discovered this passion for psychology and understanding people and myself that I never would have come across otherwise. That directly led me to working with other inmates and thinking about life beyond prison and how I can work with people and help others, all directly related to those experiences.
So, Sean, okay, you did your time, but how was then going back to the real world? How did you find the resources to start your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So every day in prison, Miha, I made it count. I mean, every day. I was incarcerated for over 2,000 days. I can't look back and think of a single day I wasted. Every night I would reflect on how I was living and who I was becoming. And I had this overwhelming sense of gratitude. I felt like I was creating a new life and momentum in my life to do the things I always wanted to do. So I came out of prison, not somebody that was just confined for 5.5 years wasting away, but someone who was really transforming and building themselves up every day. My confidence, my mindset, my routines. I was ready to come home and pursue my dreams. I knew I wanted to help people, and I knew I had a story and a message that could impact people's lives. So when I came home, now you're back out in this fast-paced world, and it's scary. That transition is very difficult. Thankfully, I had family who was supporting me, and I had somewhere to go when I got home. I didn't have to go to a halfway house or a sober living home. I was able to go and stay on my aunt and uncle's property in a small trailer. And despite the fact that I was a free man now, I was still very much overcome with anxiety and stress. And most people don't understand that, but leaving prison where you've been for half a decade and you've become accustomed to being incarcerated, now you're out here and it's real. You got to pay the bills, you got to make money, you got to do something with your life. You can't just depend on anyone else. So what happened was I knew that I wanted to get into the fitness industry early on. I love fitness. It helped me to really improve my self-confidence while I was incarcerated and helped me to connect with men that I was serving time with and mentor them. And I had done so much studying and research while I was in there, devouring books on physiology, anatomy, exercise science. So I knew I could help people. I've been applying it in my own life, and I knew what to do, but I didn't know where I would start. So when I was home, I was just going through my old contacts and reaching out to people, letting them know what I wanted to do. And then I came across an old friend who was working in a gym as a personal trainer, and he was doing very well for himself. He had an abundance of clients, and he asked me, okay, do you want to come and start working with me? You can be a trainer that's under me. I'll give you clients, and you can start working as a personal trainer. And at that time, I wasn't certified. So I had to get certified first of all, and then I had to get out to Santa Barbara where he was located. I wasn't staying there at the time. And the week before I was set to leave my aunt and uncle's property and go into Santa Barbara and start my new job, there was these wildfires that burned everything down around us. And, then there was rain and it caused mudslides. So in a week, the freeways were shut down and it was impossible to get into Santa Barbara. And I happened to have a friend who flew planes back and forth from these two counties, these two cities, helping people to get to their job, helping people to get from my county into Santa Barbara because the freeways were shut down. So Monday morning, he was flying his boss into work and he said that I could ride with him. So I flew in a plane about a half an hour into Santa Barbara County, and I went down to the gym and met the owner, talked to the guy who was going to give me the job, and I secured my position as a trainer. Then from there, I had to find a place to live and I had to find transportation. I mean, I left my aunt and uncle's with nothing, just a backpack and $200 in my pocket, or a little more than $200, but I had no money. I had nothing. I just knew I had to get out of there and pursue my dream because I felt like I would be stuck there forever. And so I was able to find a place to live. And then I was able to get, borrow a car that was damaged. The whole rear end was smashed in. It was just barely ran. It was a horrible looking car. But within 24 hours, I had a new job. I had a place to live and I had a car for transportation. And that was really my start to entrepreneurship. I mean, the journey from there has been insane, but that was my first step forward from prison into an industry that I could help people and that I wanted to be working in.
Sean, how long ago was that? Like, what year was that?
That was 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago.
Okay, okay. So in 3.5 years, you went from getting out of prison and going into gym training, and then how did you switch from gym into the life coaching business?
Yeah, so that incident I just described was 2 months after I got out of prison. The first 2 months, every night, I was trying to go to sleep and I was tossing and turning, thinking that, my dreams were passing me by once again as a kid. That's why I made that abrupt change and moved, because I felt like I was going to be stuck on that property forever. So then for a year, I worked in that gym, um, and I was getting good experience working with clients. I was getting a good reputation as a good trainer, and I wanted to leave that gym and start my own company. So I did. I started my own fitness company and I started working with people all throughout Santa Barbara and getting really good results and building up my reputation in the community. And then COVID struck about a year and a half ago, and all the gyms were shut down. You couldn't go in there and train clients. And I realized at that point that I had to make a change. And also, what was happening at that point was I felt like I was holding back. Fitness is one part of my life, but I felt like I could help people on a broader perspective, so to speak. What got me through prison was my mindset, my routines, my habits, working through stuff from the past that was holding me back, limiting beliefs. All of those things are just as important as fitness to improving the quality of our life. Like, a lot of people struggle with being consistent or following through with their words, staying focused, because they don't have the right mindset. They don't have the internal attributes that lead to success. I knew what it Go ahead. Did you want to say
No,
something?
yeah, I would just wanted to comment on that. Yeah, whenever I talk with my clients or with people who want to become my clients, I always tell them the transfer of knowledge is the easiest thing. I can just point you in direction of a few books, you read them, and that's it. It's the implementation, the consistency, the daily consistency, and doing the stuff that really matters and what will eventually get you where you want to be. So I just wanted to comment, and yeah, absolutely fully agree with you. Um, uh, I think there's a very good saying in English language that actions speak louder than words, and a, a lot of people they like to talk, but then when it comes to following up with actions, they're just not there, and then they wonder why I haven't accomplished the things that I wanted to accomplish.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I was seeing that all around me. And I knew that it wasn't a matter of having the right workout or nutrition. It was a deeper issue. So when COVID struck, I knew that people needed help, with a lot more than just fitness. They were stressed out, they were scared, they were worried about their future. And that's when I made a determination that I'm not just a fitness coach. I'm more than that. I can help people with these internal battles that they're facing. I did that for 2,000 plus days in prison. I know that what that's like. So that's when I started just life coaching. I basically said I'm a life coach. I started talking about it on Facebook in my journey through prison, raising a family, into entrepreneurship, everything that I had been doing. And I just started sharing my story, more vulnerable and authentic than ever before, consistently every day. And I started to attract people towards me that needed that help, that were intrigued by my story and how I was able to come out of prison so positive, so focused, so motivated, because those are the things people struggle with out here. Being positive, being motivated daily, like you said, being consistent. And, I knew that it was a lack of clarity in their vision and who they wanted to be. And then a lack of that emotional connection to why it's important to them. If you knew that you were going to die next year because you didn't go to the gym and eat healthy, you'd probably do it every day, right? If you knew that you were going to get divorced or look back on your relationships one day and realize you neglected them, you'd probably change the way you treated those around you right now, right? There's so many things that we use the term in hindsight is 2020, meaning you can see things so much more clearly years later once you're removed from that situation. You can see the mistakes you made. You can see the parts of your life that you neglected. And it's as clear as day. But imagine if we could do that right now in the present, and we understood the significance of our choices and the way we live and how that was going to determine the outcomes we get and the type of life we live. Like, we would probably live much differently, right?
Sean, this, well, not that I want to put you on the spot, but you really hit the nail with what you just said. When we look backwards, of course, oh, if I would do this, if I would do that, or this would be a better thing. Do you have any tips, tricks, something, exercise, I don't know, something that you can share with the audience, what they potentially could do right away or tomorrow, that can help them so that they maybe start something that they've been avoiding for a while, or putting on pause, or it was next Monday, next month, next year. Is there something that you can share right now that if they do, or if they implement, can help them with maybe one goal that they have?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm a advocate of writing. Yeah. Writing's so powerful. If I have a client or someone who I'm working with and they're struggling to be consistent and implement the action steps that we've laid out for them, what I do is I have them write 2 letters. They sit down and they imagine themselves 10 years in the future. Now they imagine themselves being successful. All the things that they're struggling to do or they say they want to do, I have them envision the person who's been able to do that, to make changes to their health, their fitness, their lifestyle, their relationships, their finances, whatever their goals are. I want them to describe that person, how they're feeling. What are they doing in their life on a day-to-day basis? What is their mood and energy? And they describe it in great detail. It feels good to write about that because that's what we want. But then I have them write another letter and I have them describe that version of themselves that doesn't make the changes. If they're not consistent, if they don't change their mindset and their lifestyle and the way they're living, what does that life look like in 10 years? And I have them describe the mood, the energy, who they're around, what their day-to-day life is like. And oftentimes those 2 different pieces of writing can have a significant impact on how we view ourselves and our lives right now. They suddenly see the importance and they see these 2 distinct paths that they can choose. Now, it's a daily choice. That person that does the things they don't want to do, but they know are good for them, and they're consistently aware of what's at stake, they're more likely to get up early in the morning when that alarm clock is going off. And they're more likely to, take those tough actions, and they're more likely to be consistent. But that person who fails to recognize what's at stake, they're going to hit snooze because the bed's more comfortable, right? They're going to skip the gym. Oh, they're going to, talk to the people around them in a certain way because they don't realize the impact it's having on their relationships. They're going to neglect things, and they don't realize they're slowly marching down this path to a life they don't really want. So I have them paint that picture with their words so they can get real clear on how important the choices and actions they take today are, and how those 2 distinct paths are laid out before them. And it's their choice which one they're going to take.
You know what? I have the same exact exercise that I take my clients through. That's why I was laughing a little bit. I just call it dream and nightmare. And I'm not as specific like 10 years from now, but I just say, like, imagine you just woke up and all your dreams came true. Write it out, be as specific, use all the senses. I want you to see it, feel it. If you don't know how to write like that, go read Harry Potter. When you read Harry Potter, you close your eyes, you can see those stairs moving. And then we do the same, and all your nightmares came, and write that out. And then what I do is they have to read both 3 times a day. First thing in the morning, in the middle of the day, and at the end of the day, because you never know which one will impact them. Sometimes we are more motivated by the good one. Most often, the pain is the bigger motivation for change and innovation. And so they just have to go and do both, and just do like a little check-in, which one motivates them the more, and then go from there. But yeah, exactly the same exercise. Great. Well, Sean, we are exactly at 30-minute mark, and I still have a few questions for you. We haven't really dived into, maybe we can combine this question. So if you share a little bit of what you do, and who are those perfect clients of yours, and what's the best way, if there are some among the audience, to reach out to you?
Yes, absolutely, Miha. So I work predominantly with men between the age of 30 and 45, like myself, business owners, entrepreneurs who are balancing raising a family. Their husbands, they have children, and it can be difficult to prioritize ourselves. Oftentimes, we neglect our own self care and we gain weight. Stress weighs us down. We're drinking too much. We're battling negative, self talk and negative beliefs. What I do is I help these men create more confidence, clarity, and conviction in who they want to be and the lifestyle they want. Because the first step is having that vision. If we don't have clarity and really who we want to be and what life we want down to the minute detail, how are we going to execute and create that life? So I help them to map that out using, various strategies, a lot of writing initially to create that connection. And then I help them to establish an emotional connection to that vision. Why is that important to you? What's at stake if you don't make these changes? Who's going to be jeopardized the most? And when we can create that clarity in what we want and why it's important to us, the actions will follow. But when we lack that clarity, there's a disconnect. And that's when things like procrastination take over. That's when being inconsistent, that's when making excuses start to plague our lives. And before we know it, we're going down the wrong path. So you can find me at SeanMichaelCrane.com or Sean Michael Crane on Instagram and Facebook. And if you ever want to talk to me about anything, I'm always an open book and here to support you.
Perfect. Well, then my last question, which is always the same. And, we've been chatting now for half an hour, but I can't possibly ask everything. And perhaps there's something that, you specifically want to share with the audience that we haven't covered yet. So I call it the last golden nugget of wisdom from Sean. So please, whatever's on your mind.
Yeah, I love this question. To be honest with you, I have a lot of golden nuggets that I love to share with people that I experienced for myself while I was incarcerated. One of the most important ones that I think applies to a lot of people right now is win this day. And what I mean by that is we get so caught up dwelling on the past or things outside of our control. We think about the future and we worry about it and it gets us anxious. We don't recognize the things right in front of us that we can do to move forward that will positively impact our lives. One of the greatest things that you can do is create a day or an approach to your life that will allow you to become a better version of yourself one step at a time, right? Warren Buffett has this great theory of compound interest. He talks about all his wealth was made through compound interest. And essentially what that means is you have $1 one day and you double it. Then you have 2 and you double it. Now you have 4. Over time, that compound interest leads to tons of money. Well, the same thing happens with you and your effort. If you give effort every day and it's aligned to the person you want to be, you have that vision, you know why you want to be that person, that compounding effect is going to produce amazing results in your life. But if you look back on the last decade, how many days did you waste? How many days did you not give your all? How many days did you skip out on things that you knew were going to help you or that are good for you in your life? The key is to create a day that is going to encompass everything that you want to do in your life, your health and fitness, your family and relationships, your business and finances. Create that structure and that framework in your day and do your best to follow it and give your all to those steps. And over time, that compound interest or that compounding effect is going to add up and have a massive impact on all those important parts of your life.
I absolutely agree. I talked about that as well. So I absolutely agree. The compound effect is just priceless when you start adding up. What I try to do every day, at the end of the day, I have this little routine that consists of 3 steps. Step number 1 is reflect on the day. Step number 2 is ask yourself some good questions and try to figure out what are some of the lessons you can learn from the day that just passed. But then the most important step is step 3. Now that I've learned the lessons, how can I apply them tomorrow so that I will be 1% better than I was yesterday? And I know that it doesn't sound much, 1%, but if you keep doing this day by day by day, literally at the end of every year, when I look back and I compare it with previous years, I can't believe how much better it was than the previous year. So I'm a very firm believer in this compound effect. So thank you so much for sharing this. Now, Sean, I know that I told you that once we say goodbye, you can just leave the studio. But if you don't mind waiting for just a little bit, I'll do my outro, and then I want to have a few words with you through the reflection of this interview. So, Sean, for the audience, I'm going to say thank you so much. I really appreciate you for who you've become, who you are, what you do. It was an amazing interview, packed of value bombs left and right, especially in terms of motivation or empowerment to the audience. So thank you so much for that. And I just wish you nothing but all the best on the continuation of this journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Miha. I appreciate it. One brief thing before I forget. I didn't get a chance to tell people about my book. I wrote this book about being in prison, prison of your own. It describes in great detail how I was wrongly convicted, but not just the journey of going through prison, but the battle that I fought up here to free myself of the mental prison I was stuck in for years. And I think that's what a lot of people can relate to right now. So I'd love for you to read it and give me your feedback. Reach out to me if you want a free copy. I'll send you a free copy as well for any of the viewers watching.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for that, Sean. And yeah, I'll see you in a bit.
Sounds good, Miha.
Okay, everybody. So, wow, what a powerful story. I don't know how many of us can really understand what Sean went through. I mean, if you haven't been in prison, you can have all the empathy in the world, but if you haven't experienced it, it might be very hard. But his story did remind me of my balcony moments trying to commit a suicide, and how everything broke in my head and got me into this new journey. So certain things, yeah, it's definitely very powerful story, and I would absolutely love for you guys, if you enjoyed this interview, if you enjoyed hearing about Sean's story, to reach out to him, check out his book. You heard it. If you message him, he'll send you the book for free. So why not do it? But yeah, very powerful story, and so many things that I can't but just agree with what he said. Welcome back. Next Monday, we'll have another interview, another amazing guest. I wish you guys all the best. There's a whole lot of new craziness happening in the world, different parts, different craziness, but I hope you are handling it well, that you're healthy, safe, that everything is working well in your business. I wish you guys, again, happy Monday. Enjoy the rest of the week, and I will see you again next Monday. Bye.